I'm walking down the street, just finishing a conversation on my old-ass, craptastic flip phone. Just as I'm hanging up, wham, I know into someone and drop my phone. I apologize, grab my phone, and head back to work. 10 minutes later I get a phone call. Hey, I think we switched phones by accident. Turns out the girl I bumped into had the same phone as me. Anyways, we planned to meet at a local coffee place after work that day to trade back. I walk up and see this very cute ginger wearing a suit dress. We chat for a bit. Turns out she works at a bank, likes what I like, and is totally up for getting dinner this weekend. Great. Saturday evening rolls around, and I swing by her place to pick her up. Out her door walks a girl who looks remarkably like said date, only instead of professional office clothes. She is wearing 4-inch platform hoe boots, fishnet stockings, some sort of corset-like top, and in spiky hair. Now normally I don't really care about a person's style, but I was a bit taken aback. Who cares, I think, and jump out to open the door. Cue witty banter. Everything is going great. She's laughing at my jokes, and her humor seems to match mine perfectly. She asks what the plan is for the night, and I tell her I'm going to take her to my absolute favorite high-quality dining establishment and get her a Big Mac. Hell, if she plays her cards right, I might even supersize it. She runs with the joke, and even one-ups me. My spirits are high. She might have wild fashion, but this chick is cool. We arrive at this nice pub in town, and I turn off the car. What about McDonald's? Legit confused look on her face. I laugh, and upon seeing her face stop in confusion. We head inside and order dinner. I have a scotch and she orders the biggest boot. This restaurant has glass boots, of Bud Light I've ever seen. The waiter comes over and takes our order. As he's leaving, my date whispers rather loudly, I can't believe they let his people in such a classy place. We should probably check our food for spit before we eat it. Our waiter is black and has ears, so I am beginning to panic. She continues her whispered commentary on the supremacy of whites, all the while putting away an obscene, but impressive quantity of beer. Dinner arrives, and she makes a point of checking her plate for saliva. Waiter and I make eye contact, and I like to think that he understood that I agreed with him that this girl was nuts. So 3 more boots of beer later, she excuses herself for a bathroom break while I take care of the check. I apologize profusely to the waiter for my date's conduct. Dude is a true gentleman. Don't worry about it, man. There are all sorts of people in this world. My date returns and we head out. In my car she pulls out a cigarette and lights up. Doesn't even bother putting the window down. We should go shooting out at my dad's farm. What's your favorite fun? I vaguely excuse myself from such activities and point out that it is rather later and time to go home. I drop her off at her house and she says, this was great, except for that waiter. We should totally go get that Big Mac next time. See you soon. I flee. Posted this on Self a while ago, but this is the gist. I had met this guy this summer, and we hit it off really well. He made me crab cakes. I'm from Maryland, so that is always great in my book. And we watched the fireflies in the forest behind his house, under the stars. We both agreed we had really enjoyed ourselves. We hooked up, that was great too. We decided to go get McFlurries from McDonald's and I thought, I don't need any shoes. Now keep in mind I'm 5'6" in, 120 pounds, blonde hair. 19, so we hop in the car. His car is low and has tinted windows, so it looked sketch. We got ice cream and we were driving back, and he gets pulled over for not turning on his left turn signal at a left green arrow. The cop asks me my name, and he goes back to his car. 15 minutes pass, and we're both freaking out. Then another cop car pulls up. Rewind, I lost my wallet during the school year, and it was given to a cop. Unfortunately, there was a false ID in there, so I was called and had to go get it. But they didn't say I was being charged, so they took my ID and I left. I get a call about a month later, and the cop says, you need to come into the station to sign papers, and I asked, can you explain to me what's happening? He said, you just need to fill out some paperwork. Those who listen are better off than those who don't. And hung up. So I was thinking, was that a threat or no? I called my dad and he talked to my uncle who is a cop, and they told me not to go in. Apparently, it was a summons I had to sign. And since I didn't go in, it turned into a warrant for my arrest. Unfortunately, I had no idea because they were sending all the papers to my mailbox at my dorm at school, which is not where I live in the summer. So fast forward. The cop comes back to the car and says, ma'am, did you know there is a warrant out for your arrest? I had no idea. Fortunately, the kid I was with knew about everything previously. We waited for the cop to call the police, which was 3 hours away, and he told me he wasn't sure if they were going to have to come get me, or if I could be detained in the county I was in. So we waited, and waited, and waited. Finally, he comes around and says I have to be detained there. A female cop comes to my side and asks me to get out. Ironically, I'm in a black and white striped dress, also with no shoes. They handcuffed me and put me in the cop car. I wanted to cry, but I couldn't wipe the tears off my face. I got to the jail with no idea of what was going to happen. They searched me, asked me questions, and put shackles on my ankles. I had no shoes on, and my toes kept getting caught in the chains. Then they put me in a cell. I sat. They took my picture, my prints and all. They also laughed because it was a first date. -3:30 rolls around, and finally they let me go out and sign papers. They take those fucking shackles off my ankles, and I call the kid. Thankfully, I wrote his number on my hand before they took me away. He was right in the front with my shoes, my mom and my sister. His dad bought me coffee in the morning and a muffin. Finally, my time to shine. Though this will get buried, I suffered for these stories, so I'm just happy to have an excuse. When I was in my mid to late 20s, I internet dated, like it was my goddamn job. It started off because I was newly back in town and pretty shy, so I did it to get over my nervousness about dating. By the time these two stories happened, I was a veteran of the wars. I had rules, e.g. don't spend 2 months talking, get the in-person meet over quickly, get there early and buy your own drink, never meet for a meal, etc., and I stuck by them. First guy we meet up, and he doesn't talk. Like grunts and nods, but no actual syllables. It's like pulling teeth. I ask him any question I can think of, and I get nothing. I should note that I went out with him because he was attractive enough, but really, because he was a legit rocket scientist. Big brains are sexy. I am about to end it with the oops, I forgot I have a party to get to. Nice to have met you. But out of nowhere he perks up. Hey, my friends are over in blank, a podunk town 3 hours away, and are having an SCA Night Arrows battle. You want to go? No, I do not want to be stuck in a car and go 3 hours away with a complete stranger to sleep in dirt. No, I don't. I made gracious apologies, and he's silent for a moment, and I get this. So, hey, would you put your mouth on it? Cue my hysterical laughter and sudden exit. I think he grunted the word bitch as I made my merry way home. Save the best for last. So, this is my second date, and the guy had been funny, and we had good conversation on the first date. At this point it's been a while, and when he invited me to his place for a movie, I am fine with sleeping/making out with him, because hey, mama needs a ride. We start making out and he burps. Now, I am fine with weird happenings during sex because let's face it, sex is all naked, sweaty time involving bodily fluids. It's messy and fun. So I'm totally okay, but this dude freaks the fuck out. He literally pulls away, curls in the fetal position, and start rocking back and forth repeating, I'm sorry, over and over again. I explain my sex theory, and it falls on deaf ears. Still rocking and muttering. I realize that this guy is going to be a horrible lay. If you can't brush off a tiny burp and start going all catatonic on it, sex is not going to be no holds barred fun. So after about 15 minutes, and he still hasn't calmed down, I take my leave. Rule number 47. Always drive yourself. I go home and my friend and I go to the OG Pancake House for late night grub and storytelling. I accidentally leave my phone at home. We get home later and I have 50 voicemails and missed calls, all from Burpee. I can't listen to all of them, but they start out apologetic and end up getting angrier and angrier. The best one is turned into an inside joke among my friends. Imagine this read in an angry porn voice. If you had just stayed an hour longer, we could have been there by now. But you didn't, you bitch, and now you've vexed the John. It's not wise to VX the John. Later he turned his profile into a screed against me. Good times, good times. There was also the time I unknowingly went out with a still married transvestite whose wife was cheating on him with his own ex-girlfriend. Well, might as well go ahead and tell this story to all of you lovely people. I started sending a few messages back and forth with this girl from OkCupid, and she seemed pretty cool, so we decided to meet up and go get a bite to eat. I drove down to pick her up and texted her when I was parked outside. I got a reply saying that she would be right out. I decided that I should get out of my car just so that way it would be way easier to spot where I was at. After a few minutes I heard a, "Hey Chickenston," and turned to see her. I knew things were off to start with because she was easily 60+ pounds heavier than any of the pictures that she had posted on OKC. Whatever, weight isn't terribly important to me, so I say hello back and we get in my car and start to drive to the restaurant. Within 10 minutes of driving and small talk, she turns to me and says, "Chickenston, where do you see your relationship going?" I awkwardly say that I don't really know since we just met. I tell her that I'm on OKC because I am looking to start a relationship, but it is just way too early to tell. After a few minutes she turns and tells me that the house I picked her up isn't actually hers. She is living there currently and is staying with her ex-boyfriend. However, the ex also lives with his mother. The kicker is that the mother doesn't know that she is staying there. So basically she has been sneaking in and out of the place. We proceed to have a rather awkward lunch with a bit more small talk, and once we finish eating, she asks if we can go to the park. I should have noped out of there as I was already feeling pretty uncomfortable with the situation. However, we went to the park, which is where the real horror started. As we're walking around the park, the girl gets a phone call. It's the ex-boyfriend, and he tells her that his mother has come home early and that she can't come back for a while. The girl is clearly upset after hanging up and turns to me. "Chickenston, can I stay with you tonight? I really want to be your woman." Stunned, but retaining my senses, I tell her that she can't stay with me and that I'm really not comfortable with the situation. I tell her that I'll drop her off at Starbucks later. I decided to run to the bathroom really quickly and begin to frantically text all of my friends, telling them to call me and say that they were locked out of the apartment and need my help. I probably should have just told the girl that I needed to leave, but I wasn't thinking clearly anymore. Eventually one of my friends calls me, and I tell her that I have to go let him in the apartment. The girl and I get in the car and proceed to the nearest Starbucks. When we pull up to Starbucks, the girl turns to me and again begs to stay with me tonight as she still wants to be my woman. I tell her no, and then she starts to cry. Not a few tears, but straight out bawling. I'm sitting there awkwardly when I start to smell a strong hint of urine. I look down and she has clearly pissed herself in the front seat of my car. At that point I tell her to please get out of my car, and when she does I drove to a nearby gas station and proceeded to clean my car. Nadia, Haitian-American nurse in Miami, meet cute on a layover. He's charming in that airport novel way, buys me a coffee, asks about my scrubs, makes a joke about me saving lives and him saving spreadsheets. 2 weeks later, he flies me to Georgia for a proper date. My ticket, my boundaries, my hotel, because mwen pas stupide. Dinner is good lighting, and a steak he orders medium, like it's a personality. He says he's a traditional man, which could be roses or rules depending on the weather. We talk families. I tell him my mammy keeps a bottle of Florida water near the door and prays over everyone's head before a road trip. He tells me he prays too, alarms on his phone 3 times a day. Keeps me grounded, he says, tapping his chest. The phone pings on cue. He bows his head in the booth like we're at church. I sip water and watch him bless the food we already ate. Back in Miami, we keep talking. He's relentless with good mornings, and Ray Helly wants to see me again. I let myself lean a little, like a nurse easing weight onto a weak ankle, testing, not trusting. One night he calls, voice bright. Had a debate with the fellas, need your take. Okay, I say, lying on my couch, compression socks still creasing my calves. Vitals? Girl refuses to share her location with her boyfriend, he says. Has it on for her mom and sister though. We all told my boy, that be cheating. My brain does a flatline. You think not sharing 24/7 location equals cheating? Yeah, he says casual, like calling the code. Why wouldn't you if you're not doing nothing? I sit up. Because she's a person, not a package? Because safety is not surveillance? Also the language, who is AB? He laughs like I'm cute. You stuck on words. Point is, transparency. I've held strangers' hands while they died. I have also called security because a drunk husband wanted his wife's vitals more than he wanted her comfort. I know the taste of control. Transparency, I say, is telling someone where you're going because you want to, not because your phone tattles. And if she broke down on I-85, you'd go get her, location or no. He inhales. Actually, same girl called my boy when she got a flat. He told her call her mom and sister, since that's who she got her location on for. Your boy left her on the road? I ask, quiet. Actions have consequences, he says, pleased with his Pinterest quote. Something in my chest goes cold and clean, like saline. So your friend would rather teach a lesson than help his woman? He hears the word woman and gets louder. Stop focusing on the B word. You don't know how to see through the B. Y'all nurses always think. I cut him off. I think about Karacha. That's my job. I'm trying to keep my voice in the safe range, the one we use for combative patience, calm with exits. There's a pause, then he chuckles low. Relax. I made up the story to prove a point. The flat tire? I blink at my ceiling fan. You invented a stranded woman to win an argument? Yeah. Point is, if you won't share location, you got something to hide. He shifts gears like a man who just discovered the clutch. I'm a high-value man. Never been married, no kids, 6 figures, my own company. I pray 3 times a day. I require certain things. His phone pings right then, prayer alarm. Hold on, he says, and prays over me long distance while I stare at my chipped toenail polish and feel my ancestors gather around me like aunties. When he comes back, I try once more. Boundaries should feel like safety, I say, not scarcity. If your lover doesn't feel covered by you in an emergency, what is the relationship for? He goes very quiet. Then, with the precision of a man laying a sting like a needle, he says, "You know what you are? A bee who can't see through the bee." The line is so crafted it almost makes me laugh. Instead, I feel my spine stack itself, L1 through L5. Messy po opinion W, I say. Thank you for your opinion. I hang up. I block the number. I let my phone buzz itself to sleep against the table like a fly against a window. I sit a long time in the lamp glow. The hospital is full of dingers, monitors, pumps, call bells, and I can tell you from experience which sounds mean move now and which mean breathe. This one means breathe. I light a small candle in a bon maman jar because I am my mother's daughter. Bondi bamwan kados, I whisper. God, keep my heart soft. I do not want to calcify around a man's nonsense. I want to keep recognizing tenderness when it stands in front of me with both hands open. The next day on day shift, a patient asks if I have somebody who will pick me up after. Why Munjen Maun? I say and then smile. Mwen men. Yes, I have someone me. I share my location with my cousin and my best friend because we are a web. We do not require each other like ankle monitors. We hold each other like nets. He tries me from a different number that evening. You overreacted, he writes. It was just a point. I type may your next point be to a therapist and delete it. I type nothing and send it. Silence is a healthy vital sign. On Sunday I go to church with Manme and sing alto like I mean it. The pastor says love is patient, kind, not proud, keeps no record of wrongs. I add privately, love pulls over on I-85 at 2 a.m. with a jack and a flashlight and a thermos of sweet coffee. Love doesn't weaponize prayer alarms like merit badges. Love doesn't call you B and then say amen. In the afternoon I tidy my little place. I put my keys in the bowl. I set my phone to share location with the people who worry without trying to own. I finally water the plant I've been ignoring because it reminds me to choose the living. I write a small list on a post-it, stick it on the fridge. Practices, not policies. Ask for what I want without apologizing. Say no once. Mean it. If a story is to prove a point, I'm the lesson plan, walk away. Keep my heart soft, not porous. Because I am petty and also Haitian and therefore ceremonial, I fry 2 plantains and eat them with pickles on my balcony. Atlanta heat laying its hand on my neck. I think of him listing his virtues like ingredients. I think of my virtues that don't fit on a resume, bringing a calm voice into a room where the monitor is screaming, calling a daughter before she arrives so she doesn't faint at the bedside, humming chow count while I prime a line. High value is how gently you put the cup back on the saucer. Ria, 30, night shift in BGC, downloaded Facebook dating against my better judgment. I told myself it was for the plot, which is what we say when we know it's for the kismas. First match looks like he took half his photos in a jail cell, or at least beside a concrete wall that believes in sadness. Before I can unmatch, he sends hey. I leave it on scene, take a call about a refund escalation, and forget him. Next day before my shift, my phone buzzes again, from the same face but a different account. Want to come get Fly on Ice and DPD live on Cam Soda? I'll pay you like $500. I read it 3 times like it will turn into normal English if I stare hard enough. Fly on Ice? DPD? Cam Soda? I shouldn't, but of course I Google. The results don't even fully load before my soul leaves my body, waves, and says, Balak Nalang later. I drop the phone face down on the bed, wash my hands for no reason except ritual, then text my best friend B, girl. I have been offered $500 to be a category I refuse to define. She replies, Grabe. Block MO. Also 500? Ong Baba. Exactly. I say to nobody, because the room is just me, and my Lola's rosary hanging from the mirror. I block, report, and walk to work with my headset in my tote and my sense of humor wearing armor. At break, I tell my team, night shifters are feral in the best way. We cackle first, then we get serious. Everyone has a story. Anna got a PayPig DM offering to buy her socks. Joe has 3 crypto kings in general requests. Paolo's cousin was promised a visa in exchange for auditions. The laughter fades into the clink of spoons on paper cups. We're all too young for this, and somehow already veteranas. I open privacy like it's a wound. I swap my last name on Facebook to my Lola's maiden name. She kept 4 children alive on Bangus and stubbornness. She can keep me alive on the internet. I lock down who can tag me, who can message me, who can see my friends list. I change my profile photo to a flower my ex can't reverse image search. For work mode comfort, I create an SOP in my notes app titled Creep Response version 1.2 because sometimes pretending it's a process is how we make it through. Do not engage. Screenshot. Report within platform. Block. File in EU folder. Group chat debrief. Self-soothing. Snacks acceptable. The man returns hydrostyle as predicted. New name, new account. Same proposition with slight spelling changes like I won't notice. Fly on ice becomes FLYYY on ICE. The price stays like $500, which tells me he knows the lowest number that still sounds like a number. I block, report, file. EW/EU/EU2/EU final. The folder is disgusting and useful. The shift drags. I soothe 3 Karens and 1 Kuya overseas who keeps calling me Missy like I'm his maid. When the 3 a.m. slump hits, B spins in her chair and says, "We need a code word." "For what?" "For rescue," she says. SOS on dates. Anna votes Pandesal, because it's soft, urgent, and always welcome. Unanimous. We test it immediately. B texts the group Pandesal, and within 5 seconds 5 riders are theoretically on the way with bread and plausible excuses. On the way home, the city looks like it forgot to wash its face. Jeepney headlights blur into halos. A tricycle driver slow rolls beside me and says, "Ingat, miss." And for once it's not creepy, it's community. I buy bibinka from a cart that appears out of nowhere off-season, because where there is charcoal, there is faith. I hear my Lola's voice the way I always do when I'm being tested. Anik, cheap men make expensive consequences. I laugh. Unala. I sleep the dead sleep of a person who muted message requests. When I wake, there are 2 more attempts, fresh accounts, same pitch. I report like a machine. Click, click, reasons, submit. Facebook gives me the confetti animation they play when they pretend to care. Thanks Meta for the cartoon. I'll treasure it forever. At pre-shift merienda, Anna confesses she replied to one weirdo once for research, and now her inbox is a mall on sale day. We exchange our scripts, the ones we paste to save our throats. My script? No. Don't contact me again. Anna's script? Not interested. Good luck. Paolo's script? I do not consent to any communication outside this platform. Delete my information. We don't owe them scripts. We owe ourselves silences. Middle of the week, I do a full digital spring cleaning. Old albums private. Tag photos from college. Gone except the ones where my eyebrows behaved. I unfriend everyone I don't remember hugging. I run a search on my full name and wince at my thesis PDF still on some department server. Thank you up for memorializing my 21-year-old brain. I email the admin. They say they'll look into it, lol. I save my EU folder to a hidden album and then to an encrypted zip because if the job taught me anything, it's 3 backups or it didn't happen. A quieter creep slinks in. The way you startle at every buzz. The way the phone becomes a small mouth that could say anything. I counter-program with stupid charm. I set my lock screen to Jollibee holding spaghetti like a bouquet. Every time I glance down, he smiles like a clown who knows the assignment, joy. Friday, after we finish a call with a man who thinks expedited means time travel, I stand by the window and watch BGC redo itself. Construction cranes like praying mantises, glass stacked into morning. B nudges me, drinks. We go to a hole-in-the-wall with sanely priced gin and a karaoke machine in the back. I sing Minsan off-key. B destroys chandelier. Anna weeps through Kayat Imo Na and then laughs at herself. Midnight, a guy with dimples offers to buy us around. We do KKB, Kanya Kanyang Bayad, because that's the vibe now. He says, "You're beautiful." And I say, "Salamat." And the conversation stays on the safe side of the fence. When my phone buzzes, I don't flinch. It's B, Pandesal? I look up, she winks. It was a test, I pass. Walking home, the streets are busy with people who work when other people sleep. Security guards, Tejo man, janitors, nurses. We nod at one another like a secret society of waking. I stop at a sorry for Yossi I will not smoke, and end up buying chalk nut instead. The Tinderess says, ma'am, Kaling and Moyen. You need that. She's right. Zoya, Pakistani-Norwegian social worker in Oslo, matched with a guy who knew 3 people from my Vidderagend, and therefore felt pre-vetted by the universe. On the phone he was a monologue machine, but I'm paid to listen for a living, so I let him run. He told a story about an ex from 2019, long distance, hotel rules, and when her father texted to set boundaries, he said the first thing that came to his mind was sending the dad a sex video as revenge. He said it like a brag, then laughed it off. Didn't send it though. My fingers went cold. I ended the call politely, blocked, and went to make chai. Next morning a new number. Why did you block me? Block. Another number, answer. Block. Another, a photo I didn't ask for. Block, report, wash my hands the way my ama does when a conversation goes dirty. I thought that would be it. Instead it became a hydrant. 11:02, hey. 11:04, why are you acting like this? 11:07, I can see when you're online. 11:10, image blocked. 12:31, coward. 13:12, pick up. 15:56, happy now? I created a folder for screenshots and named it Hydra, then renamed it Evidence, because words matter. I emailed myself a zip, blind copied my future lawyer like a fantasy. At work I practiced what I preach to teenagers who live inside buzzing rectangles. Power is deciding which doors your phone opens. He found my TikTok, my dormant Snapchat, a Gmail I forgot I made in 2012. He was a river with many mouths. I changed my passwords, then my number, the one I'd had since middle school, the one my cousins in Karachi knew by heart. Telenor said, Beklager, in a voice that meant, this is normal now. When the new SIM snapped in, silence felt like snow. For a week. A Google Voice text popped up in iMessage like a ghost hand through the wall. Happy Thanksgiving. It was November. It was Oslo. The absurdity made me laugh out loud in an empty kitchen. Then I sat down on the floor, back to the lower cabinet, and cried in the unremarkable way you cry when your animal brain is tired of proving it's not prey. I filed a police report at Gronland. The officer, kind eyes, tired posture, said paper trails matter. He asked for dates, times, numbers. I slid evidence.zip across the desk on a memory stick like it was a ring. He said they might not be able to do much, but that they would log it, and logging is a kind of spell. When I left, the air outside felt colder but clearer. I called Alma, she said. Mary John Apnakail Rakna. Do a Cardi Hoon. My love, take care of yourself. I am praying. I tucked her words into my coat like a heat pack. I made systems because systems are blankets. Unknown numbers voicemail. Friends who need me urgently, call twice in a row. All socials private. Remove anything that could be triangulation. Contacts first names only. Work clients under initials. Nightstand dumb book, not my phone. At night, the blue 3 p.m. that passes for daylight in December slid off the windows, and I learned the sound of my building. The neighbor above with heavy steps, the radiator's little cough, the tram's soft scream on wet rails. When my phone buzzed, my shoulders jumped. So I taught them, inhale then look. If it was nothing, praise. If it was something, screenshot, report, block, exhale. Ritual turned panic into chore. Friends were better than any app. Mari sent me her stalker SOP from an old mess. Keep your name out of 1881. Ask friends not to tag your location. If you must post, post after you leave. Farah made a shared calendar for weekends with the caption, we go outside. We walked Acre Brig with paper cups of cocoa and our zippers up to our noses, laughing about men who think persistence is personality. At Spiker Supper we watched teenagers fall, then get up, then fall again, all of them loud and invincible. Loud and invincible is a good interim goal. Still, the Hydra heads popped. Text now, WhatsApp with a UK number, an email that slipped past filters with my name in the subject line. I answered none of it. I saved what mattered. I wrote a short message to future Zoya and pinned it in notes. Trust your first no. It is complete. Work helped. Nothing refocuses you like a 14-year-old telling you calmly that they refuse to go home. I sat in a quiet room with a boy who wanted to set a bin on fire, just to watch something glow. Sometimes the feeling wants to be a thing, I said. We give it a better thing. We made a list titled Better Things to Burn. A candle, a letter you don't send, a frozen pizza you ate too late. He snorted. We were okay. After, in the staff room, I ate a dry waffle and stared at my silent phone and thought, I'm giving myself better things too. One evening the barrage shifted tone, apology cosplay. I'm sorry, I'm working on myself. You scared me with your strength. The compliment knives. I opened my laptop, created a new doc, pasted only dates and times, no words. I would not carry his voice into my archives. I wrote a line at the top, facts only. I closed it. I made doll. The apartment smelled like cumin and onions and women who survived worse. I turned on Noor Jahan and let her do the talking. January came. The city went quieter, which I didn't know was possible, then bright again under snow that made everything sound like it had a blanket. I met an old school friend at a cafe in Majorstuen. He hugged me too long in that Norwegian way that's half joke, half miracle. When my phone buzzed on the table, I didn't flip it. He noticed and grinned. Grown, he said, teasing. Tired, I corrected, then smiled. The last text I kept arrived on a Tuesday at 14:17. You win. I didn't answer. There were no more after that. Maybe he got bored. Maybe the police call did something. Maybe he found a softer wall. I don't care. My victory isn't his ceasefire. It's that my nervous system learned my name again. I kept one more ritual, because it made the ending feel like an ending. I printed the police report number on a small piece of paper and slid it into my wallet behind my bank card. Not to carry fear, but to carry proof that I take myself seriously. When Spiker Suppa's ice went good, I went alone at dusk. Couples held hands like toddlers. A girl in a red hat spun until she fell and cackled at the sky. I laced my skates the way my father taught me, double knotted, thumbs numb. I pushed off, legs shaky, knees soft. First lap, slow. Second lap, less thinking. Third lap, the part of my brain that lists threats took a nap. Lights strung in the trees made of fake constellations. I gave them names. Alma's Dua, Mari's SOP, Farah's calendar, Officer Kind Eyes, my first no. On a bench, breath fogging, I tucked my phone deep into my coat. It was there. It was quiet. My shoulders unhooked. I called Alma just to hear her voice. Kaisi ho Beatty? How are you, my daughter? Theek, I said. Okay. And it was true in the plain way, not the polite way. Walking home, I crossed at the light even though the street was empty, because rules are my love language when I'm tired. Tram 18 rattled by. The driver gave the tiniest wave like we were in on something. In the stairwell, someone's kid practiced violin, and the wrong notes sounded like bravery. I opened my door, locked it, then oiled the lock because care is what you do after safety. Before bed I wrote 3 lines on a sticky note and stuck it inside the phone case, against the glass. Unknown is not the same as danger. Silence can be a boundary, not a bruise. Mary John Apna Kyle Rachna. I slept. No Hydra heads in my dreams, just ice under my feet and a sky that, for once, didn't need watching. Last week I started seeing this guy who said all the right things, like a Pinterest board wearing cologne. I'm in San Antonio. He was in town for a men's softball tournament, lived 10 hours away, but worth the drive, mommy. We hung out almost every day he was here. He'd FaceTime at night, talk about being a communicator, dating for marriage, not like these ghost people. I wanted to believe him. I'm a Chicana single mom with a color-coded Google Calendar. Belief is a luxury, but the way he looked at me made room. Friday he texted, "Come watch me play tomorrow, 3 games, it'll be cute." And I was like, okay, I'll be the girl with the iced coffee clapping at the wrong times. He kept asking me to go to every game all week, and I kept saying after my daughter's homework, after my shift at the clinic, after I stopped feeling silly about screaming for a grown man in matching shirts with his coworkers. Saturday I caved. He texted, "Field 7, 2 p.m., bring your smile." I said, "Bring a win." The heat sat on the city like an abuelita on your chest when she's telling you a secret. Cumbia leaked from someone's portable speaker. I parked, hiked to Field 7 past a forest of aluminum bleachers and men in socks pulled to their knees, and found him in the dugout, sweat glossy and cocky. He hugged me quick, like a trophy he didn't want to dent. "You finally made it," he grinned. I blushed because I hate being predictable. Game 1. He cracked a double and beat his chest to the sky like ESPN cameras were present. I clapped. Game 2 he sat, nursing his shoulder, and trotted over during the 3rd inning to say, "After we win, we're all gonna grab food, then me and you." He said it like a promise he'd already kept. He also said he was sore. I said I could run home and grab my massage gun. "You'd do that for me?" he asked, eyes soft. "Of course I would. I'm the girl who brings Band-Aids to concerts." "Duh," I said, and he kissed my forehead like we were already a story. I drove 5 minutes to my apartment by Woodlawn Lake, plugged the massage gun in, lay down just for a second while it charged, and woke up an hour later with the imprint of the remote in my cheek and 3 missed texts. "We're up 6. Where you at? Babe." I flew back to the complex with the massage gun, hair in chaos, deodorant doing its best. By the time I found Field 7 again, it was the last half of the last game. The sun had turned everyone mean. They lost by 2. I didn't cheer. I was busy feeling relief and guilt, sisters who shared jewelry. He jogged over, face stormy, then did that switch some men keep in their back pocket, regret to charm in one reach. "Bad news, we're out," he said. "So we're leaving at 4:30 a.m. Gotta pack. I'll call you when we get back to the hotel, then we'll go out." I lifted the tote with the gun I'd fetched like a dog and said, "I still have this." "You're an angel," he said, but his eyes were already counting other men's coolers. I offered the simple math. We could still grab dinner. "Quick. I'll drop you after, you pack, sleep by 9, be up by 4. He made the face of a man considering vegetables. I should really pack. Team might do a restaurant thing. I looked past him at the team, already a galaxy of separate plans. "Okay," I said light casual, if you didn't hear the hinge creak in my voice. "Call me when you charge your phone." Back home, I set the massage gun on my counter like a relic from a religion I was renouncing. I changed, brushed my daughter's hair into 2 buns, texted my sister that I might go out later. The phone was flatlined. 8 p.m. became 9. A text finally came. "Sorry, we're at a team restaurant." I read it twice, felt the shape of the lie and the truth inside it, and put the phone face down. The kitchen smelled like arroz con pollo, and the middle of my 20s. I wasn't heartbroken. I was aggravated at my own softness. He hadn't promised me a bouquet. He'd given me the seed packet and asked me to water it while he went to Applebee's. I poured myself a Topo Chico, sliced a lime, called it a cocktail, and sat on the little balcony watching the neighborhood cat judge me from the fence. When he didn't call again, the night darkened into the kind of clarity that brings a pen to your hand. I opened my notes and wrote, "String-along tax. You will be you're so different until you ask for anything. He will do group loyalty cosplay to avoid individual plans. I'm a communicator, sometimes means I rehearse. If he needs a crowd to feel like a person, let the crowd have him." At 11:36 he sent, "Good night, I'm sorry we didn't hang," and I typed good night and didn't send it. Then I typed we could have, you chose not to, and didn't send that either. I typed nothing, which was the truest answer. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb and my heart on Do Not Debate. Middle of the night, I woke up with the thought that I had been auditioning for the role of woman who will rearrange herself. I got up, drank water, and rearranged my living room instead. Couch angled to catch morning sun, rug rotated, the altar I keep for my grandmother's dusted and refreshed. I tucked a basil sprig into a glass and whispered, "Ponte bonita." Get pretty. The plant would. So would I. In the morning he texted at 6:02. On the road. "I'll call you later, I swear." I pictured the team bus in that peculiar male camaraderie funk. Beef jerky, bravado, borrowed deodorant. I pictured him thinking about calling me, and choosing TikTok instead. I didn't reply. My daughter woke up asking for pancakes. I made them like a magician, battered to bubbles to golden rounds as if transformation were always this simple. Around noon my sister called. I told her everything while she clicked her nails in sympathy. "Ay, Hermana," she said. "He wanted you in the stands so he could feel like a star. He didn't want you at the table where you could have needs. She's bossy and correct, it runs in the family. Delete his number," she said. "Or rename him to softball." I renamed him to softball and felt immediately dramatic and healed. The ending isn't glamorous. He never called. Or if he did, the call slid into the soft net of my settings and died there without a splash. I didn't check. I took my daughter to the river walk at sunset instead, bought us raspas, mine chamoy, hers rainbow, and let her judge tourists' hats. A mariachi passed and hit a note that made a woman cry and a boy laugh, and I thought, look at that, a sound doing 2 jobs well. I left Portland for Berlin's clean trains, club nights, and the myth that Europeans date like adults. On my first promising date, craft beer, Riverside bench, his phone lights up with a 2-hour countdown timer. He laughs, keeps me efficient. I think he means parking. When it hits midnight, he stands, kisses my cheek, and says he had a great time, like a meeting that concluded with actionable next steps. The river keeps sliding by, pretending not to notice. I tell myself it's a quirk. Berlin worships punctuality. There are S-Bahn chimes and calendar blocks, and that specific German word for everything, including the feeling of standing in a doorway too long. It must exist. We text a bit. I go dancing with a new friend at Watergate, and the city teaches me to love 4 a.m. again. The myth still holds. Maybe people here date like adults. Maybe adult means timers. A week later I match with someone else. We talk on the phone. First night it's easy, second night he says, "So I do this thing," and I think he's going to admit to meditation. Instead, 2 timers. 30 minutes for active listening, then 30 for passive listening. Once passive ends, I have to go. I laugh because I assume he's joking. He isn't. When active clicks to passive, I hear the sound of a controller unmuting. His responses turn into little thumbs-ups of sound. Haha, wild. I picture a sign over his head. "You are now leaving the attention zone, please merge." I tell him good night and add no more phone calls to my mental Kanban. The first guy resurfaces and asks me to dinner in Prenzlauer Berg. We sit under strings of warm bulbs and he unveils a model like a proud product manager. I've learned a relationship flows best with 3 hangs a week. Max calls are nightly but scheduled. We'll respect the structure so there's no scope creep. He's kind about it, almost tender. When his phone buzzes he says, softly, active. He's present, eyes warm, hand loose on the table. Another buzz, passive. He keeps looking at me, his eyes fog. Somewhere behind them a keyboard starts. The third buzz is final. He stacks his napkin like origami and tells me he had a great time. I bike home with the spree to my left and a chill in my teeth that isn't the wind. Here's the part that's hard to confess. Some tiny managerial note in my brain like the clarity. Attention defined. Deliverables paced. No late night spirals, no anxious waiting. Just a schedule you can set your heartbeat to. But intimacy isn't a stand-up, and love has a way of missing the meeting and still getting the work done. I start noticing timers everywhere. On the U2, a man murmurs into his mic, "Babe, I have 4 minutes left." At a cafe in Neukölln, a woman flips her phone face up and sighs, "Passive now, I'll fold laundry while you talk." The creep here is cold, not hot. You don't run from it, you dissolve beneath it. It's the measured outness of a thing that used to rush. We try one more date, timer guy and I, because I want to prove to him, to me, that a system can flex. We meet at a spatty, grab beers, and wander the canal. He tells a story about his childhood in Dortmund. I tell one about a disastrous Portland potluck with 6 quinoa salads. We laugh, a bike bell dings, a dog shakes water like a percussionist. When his phone buzzes active, he pockets it. When it buzzes passive, he leaves it face down. The third buzz chirps and he falters like a swimmer hearing thunder. "I should," he starts, then looks at me. "I don't want to." The sentence is small and huge. We walk another block, then he stops, takes out the phone, taps something, and says, "I can make exceptions." It's meant to be romantic. It lands like a permission slip he signed for himself. That night, back in my studio with the soft growl of the ringbahn in the distance, I line up my plants, monstera, snake plant, a rehabilitated basil, and put a little analog kitchen timer beside them. I twist it to 10 minutes and sit, watching the thin hand creep. When it dings, I don't move. I let it keep dinging into the room until the sound is just another Berlin noise. Then I water the basil slowly, overfilling by a hair, because mess is part of growth, and also because I am being dramatic for an audience of leaves. We don't combust, timer guy and I. We taper. He suggests a weekly retrospective, and I suggest we don't. We send a few tidy texts. "Hey, thanks for the time." Likewise. The conversation moves neatly into archive, a folder where nothing rots or heals. It just stops being looked at. But the lesson keeps walking with me. I start to notice how scarcity dresses up as boundary. I think about the times I've called scarcity standards and standards self-care, when really I was just afraid to be tender. Berlin is good for these thoughts. Wide sidewalks, time to finish them before the light changes. A month later, I'm on another date by the river. He's a cellist with shoulders that apologize for nothing and a laugh that isn't efficient at all. His phone barks, a calendar alert, something about a rehearsal. He scrambles to silence it, embarrassed, and starts explaining himself like a man who got caught peeing in a fountain. I hold up a palm. "No stress," I say, and I surprise myself with the softness in my voice. But I'm not a sprint. He smiles slow. Noted. We sit without agenda. He tells me about a cello that cracked in winter and the luthier who set its bones. I talk about a client project gone sideways and how we salvaged it by letting it be the wrong shape. A heron lifts itself out of the water like a line break. Time keeps being time. We keep being people in it. No one dings. Later, biking home along the Landwehr Canal, I tuck my phone into the deepest pocket of my bag. At a stoplight, a couple kisses and the man's backpack slips down his arm and they both laugh, and I think, this is a better metric. Not minutes, moments that wobble and still say yes. Mira dates a boy from a richer world. South Mumbai address, parents with club memberships and the chilled water that magically appears when you sit. I am middle-class datar, train map in muscle memory, mother who hoards glass jars. At dinner, when my date ducks to the restroom, his mother asks my parents' professions, my neighborhood, my plans. I answer honestly. She smiles like a blade and says, "You should move." It's very ghetto. The word lands on the tablecloth like a beetle that refuses to die. I laugh, tiny polite, because I've been trained to. Then I don't. The waiter hovers with a basket of bread rolls and pretends not to hear the way women bruise each other with gentle voices. My date comes back, oblivious, smelling of expensive soap and his father's cologne. I try to restart the evening. The rolls are warm, the butter is cold, and I can feel my jaw clench into a hinge. We make it through mains and a conversation about vertical living and aspirational zip codes. On the drive down Petter Road, he says, like he's explaining Excel to a child, "Mom's just being practical." I watch the Queen's necklace flash to our left and think how some people confuse brightness with goodness. Practical is what you call cruelty when it fits the curtains. At home, AI listens without interrupting, the way she does when onions are browning and truth needs time. She taps the kadai with the wooden spatula, tick, tick, and finally says, "Barabar, she has money. But where will she buy the smell when it rains?" Baba chuckles from behind his newspaper. "And the curry leaf man who gives extra because you remembered his daughter's exam?" These are our club memberships, smell, memory, little extras. I sleep badly, wake with an idea, and text the boy. "Come to my side this weekend. I'll show you my ghetto." A winky face makes it look like a joke. It isn't. We meet at Dadar Station just after 6. The platforms are breathing. Women in crisp cotton saris hold their tiffins like holy objects. Schoolboys bounce like coins. He stands near the indicator board looking like a misplaced showroom mannequin, white sneakers offended by dust. "So early," he says, checking his watch. "For what?" "For the world," I say, and pull him into the current. We walk to the flower market, which, if you've never been, is organized chaos with jasmine. Stalls heave with marigolds, roses, moss-green leaves. Men weave garlands quick as gossip. Women shout prices like hymns. I buy 2 strings of Mogra for AI and clip one into my hair. He sneezes delicately. "Strong," he says, pinching his nose. "Have," I correct, which is Marathi for heavy and also for the way love sits sometimes. We stop for cutting chai. The glass kisses my fingertips with heat. The tea slaps my mouth awake. "You can't get this at your club," I say. He smiles like he's trying. "We have Earl Grey." "How cute," I say, and take another sip. On Ranaday Road we browse steel vessels at the shop that has sold every Annie her favorite dabba since before I was born. The owner calls me Beta, asks after AI's knees, and tosses in an extra small lid free. We pass a bookshop where the proprietor knows my poems and slides me a thin new Marathi collection. "Your last one made my wife cry," he whispers proud. I hand over my rupees. He hands back change and a blessing. My date lingers at the door, half in, half out, like a thought he doesn't want to finish. "Hungry?" I ask. I already know the answer I want. He glances at his watch again, then at a glossy cafe across the street. I steer us to a Veda Pav stall instead. The oil sings. The vendor cracks jokes about politics. The first bite is a small explosion, potato, chili, chutney that tastes like everyone who ever loved me. He holds the paper plate like it's fragile evidence. "It's fried," he says, as if discovering physics. "And sanctified," I say, mouth full. He throws the rest away when he thinks I'm not looking. I don't fight. I just file it in the cabinet where I keep people's tells. The lanes behind Kabutarkina are waking up. A girl drags a school bag nearly her own size. A man hoses the pavement, water carving temporary rivers. He says, It smells like frying, and I think of his mother's word again, dressed differently. It smells like people, I say. You're welcome. By 11 he's sweating, and I'm bored of making a case for oxygen. We cut through the vegetable market where coriander is stacked like little forests. He recoils from a fish stall with an involuntary ugh. I touch a pomfret's silver side and thank it under my breath, the way AI taught me. You don't have to like it, I tell him, but at least don't insult the work. We end at Shivaji Park. Cricketers practice, a coach shouts, "Our focus," and two old men argue about politics with an intimacy that would shame married couples. We sit on a bench. It's fine, he says, generous. But I can't see myself living here. You don't have to, I reply lightly. I'm doing that already. He tries to recover. Mom really didn't mean, she did. I say, because sometimes mercy is a lie. He flinches, and for a second I feel bad for the boy caught between a house and a home. Then I remember I'm not a lesson plan. We part with civility. He sends a text later. You're overreacting. I look at the word and feel a little click inside, like a deadbolt finding its keep. I reply with nothing. Silence can be an instrument. I'm learning scales. That evening AI and I split a plate of candipo and watch the ceiling fan carve circles in the heat. I draft a poem called Where the Trains Stop, and it's not subtle. Baba reads it, sniffs, and says, add the line about the curry leaf man. I do. We're a collaborative shop. On Sunday I go alone to Dadar's Goldsmith Lane. The shopkeeper has palms like my grandfather, square, honest. I try on a tiny nose pin, a dot of sun. In the mirror I see my mother at 20, my grandmother at 15, me at now. Have, the goldsmith jokes, and we both laugh. I pay. He wraps the pin in butter paper like Prasad. Back home I sterilize the pin, hold my breath and push. A bright shock, then warmth. When I look up, AI is at the doorway, smiling like the sea. Kup Sundar, she says. Very beautiful. I feel ridiculous and holy. In the evening, as the first rain teases the city and the smell rises, the one you cannot buy at any club, I oil my front door lock. Baba taught me, a drop, turn the key, wipe the excess. I do it slowly, ceremony in small motions. On the landing, the neighbor's kid practices tabla. The rhythm walks into our house without knocking. I think of his mother's blade smile, of the boy's expensive sneakers skipping puddles. I wish them well from a sincere distance. Somewhere across the sea link, chilled water appears when someone sits. Here, the chaiwala knows how I like mine, and the flower seller keeps 2 strands of mogra aside because Mira Tai will come. When the lights flicker, the whole lane hums and the inverters kick in like a chorus. Efua, data analyst in Scarborough, Annie's who can find anyone online in 2 clicks. I join Hinge after swearing I'm done with Hinge, which is how Hinge gets you. First messages are my standard triage. Are you actually single? Any children? Ever been married? He types back smooth as chilled sabalo. 2 kids. Yes, really single. Was married. She passed. I say I'm sorry, and we move on. No prying. Boundaries are also data. He is easy on text, witty nerd-level puns about sequel, sends a meme about VLOOKUP versus index match, and I actually laugh. First meet is at a board game bar on Blur. He shows up in a sweater that believes in itself and smiles that belong in LinkedIn headshots. We play codenames. He's quick, I'm quicker, and when I beat him he grins like that's the point. We trade stories of immigrant parents who think a work-from-home job means you're available to fix the Wi-Fi. I ask softly about the wife. He looks down, says it's been a while, and I let the subject drift like a balloon you're not sure you can hold. We build a rhythm, calls in the evening, a walk around Guild Park when the weather pretends to be spring, the kind of dating where you bring snacks and also yourself. Red flags? None I'm willing to stampede for. He signs texts with a single initial like he's busy. Fine. I too am booked and blessed. One night he mentions his brother. A hood version of me, he says, with that half-jokey tone people use when they mean it. I snort and say, I'd like to see it. He says the name, first and last, without thinking. The name sits in my head like a tab I'll open later. Later arrives on a Sunday with jollof in the oven and Annie's on speaker. I typed the brother's name into Facebook because I am my mother's daughter and also a woman with a browser. His profile is half private, but friends lists are loose threads. I click a cousin, then a woman with the same last name. Photos load. For kids blow out candles in a grid. 2 I've seen in his camera roll, 2 I haven't. My stomach does that elevator thing. I click again. Wedding photos in soft Kent and gold. The groom is my man. The bride is very much alive, tagged, smiling with that confidence of women who know they are loved. Newer posts, last week, in fact, show a family picnic at a park I recognize. Captions in Chui in English. Meidowa, heart emojis stacked like building blocks. I sit back. For a second the apartment hums louder, the fridge, the traffic, my ribs. Then the analyst part of me wakes up, like a coworker swiveled in my chair. I take screenshots. Dates. Tags. File names that make sense later. I email them to myself with the subject, receipt. Because if there is one thing immigrant motherhood taught me, it's that receipts are God. Do I confront? A message. Hey, I found your wife. The one you said passed. My thumb shakes, but my grammar is clean. His reply is fast, too fast for a man supposedly processing grief. She's dead to me. It's a small sentence that smells like rot. I stare at it, then at the picture of 4 kids and a paper plate of jollof in the background. I type and erase, type and erase. In the end I send, don't contact me again. Block. Report on Hinge. Another block. I screenshot those too, because sometimes your own spine needs proof it did its job. I carry the story to my mother's kitchen, where the air is always stew and cautionary tales. My mother shakes her head, wipes her hands on a towel that has seen things, and murmurs, "Efua, men like this, a woo-raid, fire on their lies." My aunt adds, "If lies were horses, he'd owe traffic fines." We laugh because the alternative is shouting in a way that calls neighbors. Then we eat and my jaw unlocks. The texts attempt a resurrection from a new number. It's complicated. Block. Another. We were separated. Block. A third. So you're just going to judge? I leave that one on read like a wreath. The creep here isn't a chase down a dark street. It's the audacity to edit real people into props. 2 children promoted to mentionable, 2 demoted to deletion. A wife switched off with a sentence. The horror lives in how easy his hands moved over the word dead. I locked down my socials. I changed my Facebook last name to my grandmother's maiden name because she never lied to anyone except the butcher about the weight of goat meat. I set my WhatsApp photo to a flower that cannot be reverse image searched. I tell my choir girls, and they gasp and then pass around a tin of mints like communion. On Sunday we sing a Wurade Casa, and when the altos swell on Speak, Lord, I feel my spine stack itself again, vertebra by vertebra. I am not ashamed of looking, I am grateful I looked. Still, my sleep starts catching in notifications. In my dreams, pings are insect wings, ZZT skittering. I move my phone across the room at night. I let it ring to voicemail if the number is unknown. I learn piece by inches. I land in Boston for a 3-month contract and a fling, ideally one with jokes. I hinge date a tall lad who actually is tall, praise be, pays the bill grand, and radiates the charisma of a damp washcloth, less grand. Sure, I think, maybe he's better with the lights off. He isn't. But that's the end of the story if I tell it mean. The longer, truer version starts with a Tuesday, the red line squealing like a banshee, and me in a dress I call my good decisions dress. He messages in complete sentences, "Know you up?" Fossils, and arrives precisely on time, which in America feels like sorcery. 10 minutes in, his conversational engine coughs and dies. Every question I ask returns a single-sentence answer, and then a polite atmospheric silence, as if we've entered a museum where speaking is discouraged. I try banter CPR. "Worst job you've ever had?" He blinks. "Caddying. Heavy bags. Crack at least." "What's crack?" "Never mind." He compliments the restaurant, which is fine, and my earrings, which are also fine, and somehow the word fine begins to sand the evening down to dust. Still, he pays. I insist on the tip. We both perform those little dances of fairness, and outside the air is soft in June. I am a woman with needs, and an Airbnb with clean sheets. I have made worse decisions with better talkers. "Do you want to come back to mine?" I say casual, like I'm offering a mint. His eyes light, and for a brief, foolish moment I think, maybe he's just bad at small talk and brilliant at the big motions. Maybe there's a switch. In my place we do the civilized bit, glasses clinking, a joke about my landlord's art, moody boats, then the inevitable gravity toward the bed. He kisses like a man reading instructions in a language he does not speak. When he touches me it's with the baffled caution of someone attempting to assemble flat-pack furniture without the hex key. I try the gentle nudge. "Softer," I say. "Slower." He nods earnestly and speeds up, as if I were a buffering video. I give him a hand map, then a legend for the map, then a live tour. He thanks me, which is both sweet and devastating. The desert arrives slowly, like weather. He treats foreplay like a checkbox. My body, unfussed by this project plan, declines to RSVP. Every now and then I hear myself making an encouraging sound and want to crawl out of my own mouth. There's a moment, I remember it with anthropological clarity, where I am looking at the ceiling fan, counting the dust clumps, and realize I have built an entire future on a theory. Boring at dinner means thrilling elsewhere. Reader, the data does not support the hypothesis. I deploy the classic Irish exit from bad sex. A soft yawn, a hand to the forehead. I'm shattered, I whisper, which is true spiritually if not physically. He gentlemanly says, of course, and I could have kissed him for the relief of the end if kissing hadn't been the crime. We untangle awkwardly. He pulls on his jeans and waits like a boy at the school gates. What now? It's late enough that the Uber map looks like winter constellations, mostly empty space. The price surge could buy a small boat. I am not a monster. You can crash on the couch, I say. I'm up at 7. He is grateful. He does not sleep. He pads to the kitchen, opens and shuts drawers, returns with 2 waters like he invented chivalry. He whispers, here you go, baby, and I have to physically bite my lip not to laugh. 6 hours of acquaintance, and I'm baby? The word lands like a sticker on a fridge that doesn't belong to him. He paces. He sighs. He rustles. My ceiling fan keeps count. At 5:12 he taps the bathroom light, and then immediately off like a man escaping a lighthouse. At 5:40 he coughs a little cough. At 6:03 he is fully, unmistakably awake in a way that makes me, by sympathetic magic, fully, unmistakably awake. At 6:58 I am dressed and merciful. Let's get you home, I say, cheery as a funeral. The morning is damp and unreal. Boston does fog like a Victorian novel. We drive through it. He directs me left, then right, and we pull up outside a tidy house with geraniums and a flag. He says, thanks for the lift, and then, in a voice that suggests we've been through something together, we should do this again. The porch light clicks on, and his mother opens the door. A woman's face, mid-60s, nightgown, a curl of hair set free. She lifts a hand. He waves back, small as a child. My heart, mean creature, does a somersault and lands on its feet. Mind yourself, I say. He says, you too. And he's gone, swallowed by his mother's house and the smell of toast I can actually swear I smell. Guy opens the date by setting a 2-hour timer on his phone. Keeps me efficient. When it dings, he's gone. He did this with calls too, active listening timer, then passive listening timer, then bye. He framed it as boundaries. It was control wrapped in productivity speak. I dated a version before, a man who loved the stopwatch more than me. Nights felt like subscription minutes. Baby, I got 15 left. In a city that never sleeps, he slept just fine, alone, while I lay awake, counting beeps like sheep. When the new guy's alarm chirped in the lift, I watched his thumb hover over snooze and thought, any man who times compassion will ration cruelty. I told the driver, next corner please. New York swallowed me up, and for once that felt like mercy. Backing up a bit to when I met him. Back to the cafe where I first met Timer Man. It's a spotless Nolita spot with plants so glossy they look laminated. He's early, parked at a 2-top, laptop open like a guard dog. The phone in the middle of the table sits face up, a totem. I like to set intentions, he says, smiling. 2 hours, full presence. We small talk. He does a tight 5 on deep work and the tyranny of push notifications. He doesn't drink coffee after noon, doesn't eat seed oils, doesn't date people who can't self-regulate. His words snap together like a puzzle you didn't ask to finish. When I talk, he leans forward, nods, mirrors. His eyes feel like high beams. Everything about him says, see, I'm listening. He's good at it, the performance, the posture. I relax against the chair and make the wrong decision. I mistake structure for safety. The timer hums quietly on the table, a second hand I can hear in my body. I tell him about my work. He asks about OKRs. I tell him about my sister. He asks if we align on values. When I answer, he repeats back a summary like he's checking a box. So what I'm hearing is, it's soothing until you realize you've been translated into a note in his phone. Phone's away, he suggests. I tuck mine in my bag, like a kid surrendering her contraband. I try to notice the actual room. The clatter of cups, the barista's laugh that sounds like chimes, the way afternoon pours in and lays itself on the table like a cat. but my attention keeps magnetizing to the countdown. 1 hour 28 minutes and 15 seconds. 1 hour 7 minutes and 42 seconds. 53 minutes and 10 seconds. I wonder if he does this with books, showers, grief. If his sorrow has a lapse button. Midway through he slides effortlessly into a story about his ex, framed as a cautionary tale on time theft. She wanted him to stay on the phone while she walked home late at night. 20 minutes of passive listening, fine, he says. After that, it's codependency. He pronounces the word like a diagnosis, not a feeling. I think of the way my mother kept the landline warm until I heard my door lock click. I say nothing. He compliments my earrings for exactly 5 seconds, and then napkins the conversation back to his systems. When he excuses himself to the bathroom, the table exhales. I glance at the timer, 39 minutes and 8 seconds, and catch my reflection in his black screen. A woman who has made peace with worse. I think of the man I dated last year, the one with the 2 alarms for our nightly calls. Active listening, 15, he'd say, setting his kitchen timer like an egg. When it dinged, his voice loosened. The second alarm began. Passive listening, 10. He'd tilt the laptop away and start clicking at something else while I talked about the day. On good nights, he'd stay past the timer, like it was a party he didn't want to leave. On bad nights, the alarm marched us off the phone mid-sentence. I kept telling myself it was cute, quirky, a fix for his ADHD. What it was, a ration line. I learned to speak in bullet points to fit his slots. When we broke up, his calendar invited me to a 15-minute closure call. I declined. Back at the cafe, timer man returns, sits, checks the countdown with the serenity of someone who has never lost a bus because time was slippery. We've got 34, he says cheerfully. I laugh. It comes out brittle. The barista clears neighboring plates and whispers, "Love your jacket." Her kindness steadies me. It's what unscheduled connection feels like. We pay, we walk. His stride is exactly 120 BPM, city tempo. He narrates his week as if his life is a Kanban board, gym, stand-up, sprint, improv, sauna. He mentions breath work with the solemnity of a man who found God in a cold plunge. I say I like long, aimless walks. That's low yield, he says, then softens. But cute. He suggests a second date, dumplings in the East Village. We can stack, he adds, bright. Dinner, then a 90-minute set at Union Hall. Stack, as if intimacy is a Tetris game. I say, sure, because New York trains you to say yes and figure it out later. The timer on the first date dings in my mind like a memory. He grins, pockets his hands. Look at that, right on time. He doesn't wait for my subway. He peels off with a salute, punctuality personified. The second date is where the lift alarm happens. But first, a phone call in between. He proposes we check in the night before and sends a calendar invite titled Predate Sync 15. My stomach laughs and my mouth declines. He calls anyway. I'll keep it tight, he promises. Active for 10, passive for 5. I imagine a courtroom stenographer transcribing our flirts. I let it ring out. He texts, no worries. Asynchronous is fine. Dumplings are good, steam on our faces, the stupid joy of a perfect bite. He tells the waiter we want everything up front, because we're optimizing for time. I roll one dumpling in vinegar until it shines. When he asks what I'm looking for, I say, someone whose presence doesn't feel like a schedule. He smiles like he understands, but then says, totally. We can timebox hard stuff and let joy be optional. I swallow laughter with tea so hot it tries to argue. We call a lift to the show. I make the mistake of sitting close enough to see his lock screen. It's a collage of clocks, hour stats, street counts, a Ring camera snapshot of his own front door at 7:01 a.m. And there, top right, an alarm labeled quality time end. He thumbs it on, and the phone gives the polite little chime I already hate. I picture the alarm going off in the middle of a kiss, in the middle of an apology, in the middle of me. Keeps me efficient, he says again, the catchphrase of a man trying to turn feelings into chores. I look at him then properly. He's handsome in that packaged way, fresh haircut, crisp jacket, the look of a person who has never had a stain he didn't treat immediately. But his face is a clock. All I can see are hands. Next corner, please, I tell the driver. Timer man blinks. The venue's farther, he says, showing me the map like I'm illiterate. I'm getting out, I say, and the driver, bless New York drivers who have seen every movie, signals without question and glides to the curb. Everything okay? Timer man asks, voice trying to soften. The lock screen's alarm icon glows. Yeah, I say. I'm allergic to deadlines masquerading as dates. He laughs, confused. We can extend, if that's the issue. That is the issue, I say, hand on the door. You're measuring something that should be felt. He opens his mouth, probably to say boundaries, and I'm already outside. The September air is its own kind of clock, warm on top, cool underneath. He texts while the car pulls away. We can talk about this. After the show. I type no thank you, and watch the 3 dots appear, vanish, appear. Met his parents at a steakhouse. He slipped to the restroom. His mother asked where I lived, what my parents did. When I told her our neighborhood, she looked me dead on. You should move. It's really ghetto. I laughed, then didn't. I mentioned my parents immigrated, worked doubles for decades. She sipped water like a judge. He returned and sided with her. She's just honest. Honest like a knife. The rest of dinner was small talk poured over a cracked foundation. Later, in the car, he said I was overly sensitive. I looked out at the city, my city, bridges and trains, and the hum where my childhood fits like a jigsaw piece. I told him to stop the car. He said, here? I said, here. I walked the last blocks home, every storefront a reminder that love without respect is just permission to be cruel. Pause. Rewind to the host stand, where leather menus stack like briefcases, and the lighting is the exact color of money. The place smells like butter and ambition. He squeezes my hand, too tight, like reassurance he hasn't earned, and says, they're going to love you. I smooth my dress, hear my mother in my head, postura, emija, shoulders back, chin up. The hostess smiles with perfect teeth and leads us through a forest of suits. His parents already sit like a portrait. Father with the practiced slouch of a man who thinks rules are suggestions, mother with pearls, immaculate nails, and a face composed for photographs. Hi, I start, and she air kisses the air near my cheek, lips untouched, perfume cool as a slap. Dad's handshake is dry and firm. He calls the server boss, like he's doing charity. I put down my purse and my expectations. We order. His mother says, no garlic, like a curse. He excuses himself to the restroom, phone face down on the table, as if to prove something. The moment he's gone, she tilts her head, appraises my earrings, my hair, the way you evaluate a condo you might flip. So, where do you live? The U is italicized in her mouth. Little village, I say. Near 26th Street. She blinks with slow, expensive eyelids. You should move. It's really ghetto. I laugh because my body is trained to make other people comfortable. Then I don't. My parents bought our place when I was 10, I say. They came from Michoacan with nothing, worked doubles for years, turnos matados, to keep it. My dad's hands look like the sidewalk. My mom's back. I stop before I make a stranger a witness to our saints. She sips water like a judge pronouncing sentence. Well, she says, aspiration is important. Aspera esto, my mind answers, petty and bilingual. I fold my napkin, smooth its edge. Dad asks what I do, I tell him. He asks what I make, I don't. Mother smiles the way women smile when their dentists are nearby. Safety is a reasonable concern, she continues, like we're in a panel discussion. You know the statistics. I know the statistics and the names. Mr. Alvarez who fixes bikes in his yard. Donna Luz with her tamales red and green on Christmas. Petra who sells flowers outside the church with hands like tissue paper. The kids who draw chalk hopscotch on cracked concrete and shout, Dale, like a prayer. I know the panaderia sugar dust that floats like tiny saints. I know Quint's dresses in the window, a galaxy of tulle. I know the way the L rattles like a heartbeat, and how the tracks sing you to sleep if you're near enough. I feel safe, I say steady. It's home. He returns, drying his hands, smiling. What did I miss? Mother sets her glass down like a gavel. She repeats it, abridged, sanitized. He laughs easy. She's just being honest, babe. The babe lands like a leash. I look at him and feel the distance from here to the pier, from his mouth to mine. Honest is a word some people use when they mean rude, but insulated from consequences. The server brings bread. I tear a piece to give my hands something to do. Butter slides and lands on my knuckle. His mother watches me lick it off with an interest she never gave my job or my parents. What do your parents do exactly? She asks. The verb is a scalpel. My mom's a caregiver. My dad pours concrete, I say. He's good at making the ground behave. Ah, she says, like I've confirmed a suspicion. Dad nods. Hard workers, he says, generous as a bloated check. My boyfriend, boy then lowercase, Grins like everything is fine, like he isn't sitting in the middle of a fault line pretending earthquakes are just big trucks. Steaks arrive, bleeding like promises. Mother cuts hers into bite-sized truths and places them on the white plate like a demonstration of control. She says the neighborhood where they live, north, lake-adjacent, tree-lined, as if reciting a password that opens doors with men in bow ties behind them. Maybe you'll come up our way, she offers, charitable. There's an art fair. I say, we have a street festival next weekend, mariachi, loteria, churros. She blinks, the slow blink of someone whose eyes do not bend to color. Fun, she says, like she's choosing a sweater. The table talk goes on, small and brittle. I code switch in my head to survive. Tranquila, no lures, no lesta el gusto. Be calm, don't cry, don't give them the satisfaction. He tells a story about a hockey game. His dad interrupts. His mom refines the punchline as if she wrote it. I try to be present in a room that keeps asking me to vanish. When the bill comes, Dad reaches for it with ceremony. Mother pats his arm as if he found a cure. In the lull, she turns to me and says, "You should network more. LinkedIn is powerful. Upward mobility is all about who you know." I know my neighbors, I say. They brought over Pozole when my mom had surgery. She smiles with all her teeth. That's sweet. Outside, the Gold Coast air is conditioned, even on the street. He laces our fingers, and they feel like mismatched puzzle pieces, almost if you force it. That went great, he says. She likes you. Does she? I say light. She called my home ghetto. He sighs, the sigh of a man asked to carry anything. You're being overly sensitive. She didn't mean it like that. She's just honest. 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 The word marches like ants over a dropped sweet. We get in the car. The leather sighs. He starts the engine, and the radio spills a song I loved in high school, back when I thought approval was currency. He talks about brunch plans. I look out the window and watch the city shift from gloss to grit, from storefronts that sell cool to stores that sell toilets and faith. We cross the river. The bridges hold our weight without showing off. We pass a mural, Our Lady of Guadalupe wrapped in roses and spray paint. Mira la Virgencita, my heart whispers, Muranos and Nosotras. He's still talking when I say, stop the car. Here, he says, like I've proposed a crime. Here, I say, because sometimes the map chooses you. He pulls over, confused. We're not at your place yet. I know, I say, unbuckling. I want to walk. He searches my face for an apology. He won't find one. You're really doing this, he says. I'm really doing this, I answer, and close the door softly because I was raised to be gentle even with endings. Met a bloke off an app, couple drinks, bit of a vibe. In bed he goes, lay over me lap. I'm vanilla adjacent but I'm game, tap tap, okay spicy. Then he says, switch. I reckon he means the lights. Nah, he flops across my thighs like a sack of spuds and wants me to play headmistress. I'm already dying of secondhand embarrassment when he says the sentence that lives rent-free in my skull. Stick your finger in there, mate. Against my better judgment, and curse my people-pleasing, I do. And I meet something that should have been handled before the invitation. I yelp like a kookaburra, scrub my hands raw, grab my keys, and Irish goodbye. Blocked his number before the elevator hit the lobby. Lesson learned, if a man says switch, switch him off. Pause. Rewind to the Arvo, humid as a bathroom after 6 showers. Brisbane doing that soup-in-the-air thing, Mozzie's vibing, jacaranda confetti stuck to the footpath. We matched on a Tuesday, swapped voice notes. He sounded like a trot eye with a good heart and a battered esky. Photos were all him holding fish or pointing at a smoker. Standard. He suggested a schooner at the pub up near the valley. I rocked up in a sundress and sandals, hair doing the frizz halo, praying the ceiling fans weren't just decoration. He was already there, tall enough to reach the top shelf, but not tall enough to be rude about it. Navy tee, faded tat on the forearm, eyes a bit too proud of themselves. Day, he grinned, scooting over. We did the small talk dance. Where'd you grow up? Sunny Coast for him, South Side for me. What do you do, Sparky? Marketing, footy or league, both, depending on who's winning. He bought me a passion fruit sour and himself a Great Northern. Every time the Broncos highlights flashed on the telly, he twitched like he had a dog whistle lodged in his brain. It wasn't love at first sight, but it wasn't a bin fire either. He laughed easy. I like a bloke who looks the bar staff in the eye when he says thanks. He did. Tick. When he joked the valley smells like regret and vape juice, I snorted my beer up my nose. Romance. We did 2 rounds, maybe 3, walked out into the kind of night that sticks to your knees. He kissed me at the zebra crossing, polite, a question mark, not a full stop. I said yes. He said he lived round the corner, which in Brisbane means anywhere between here and Ipswich. Turned out it was New Farm, a block off Brunswick Street, the sort of building with a lift that wheezes like a smoker but a foyer that thinks it's a hotel. His unit had the bachelor starter pack, canvas print of the Story Bridge at dusk, couch that had seen some things, and a candle that smelt like masculine forest. Bunnings, I'd bet my super. We had a beer on the balcony. River breeze pretending to be a personality. He pointed out the lights and said, "That one's my gym." No one asked, but okay. We bantered. He told me his ex took the good kettle. I told him my ex took the cast iron pan. We bonded over petty grief. Then he kissed me again, proper this time, and we stumbled toward the bedroom, laughing into each other's faces, which is the only acceptable kind of stumble. Look, I'm not wild in the sheets. I'm more do no harm, leave no trace. But I'm not a prude either. He did the gentle check-ins. This all right? And I said, yep, appreciative. Then the plot twist. Lay over me lap. I blinked. He patted his thigh like he was trying to burp a baby. I'm a generous soul, so I clambered across, feeling ridiculous and somehow in year 8 drama class again. He did the tap-tap like a metronome. Honestly? Bit cheeky. Gave me a giggle. 5 out of 10, would recommend with supervision. Then, switch. I hopped off, went for the light switch like a diligent student. Nah, he said, already rolling. You on top. Your turn. And flop, full-grown man strewn over my lap like a Labrador that's learned English midair. He wiggled like I was a recliner. Be strict, he said. Say I'm naughty. My inner Catholic schoolgirl woke up just to die again. I cleared my throat, said something like, "You naughty boy," in a tone that suggested I was a tax auditor reading a parking ticket. He didn't care, he was in his bliss. And then, the sentence. Stick your finger in there. Mate. The room paused. The possums on the power lines outside held a council. I should have said no. I should have said, Boundary King. But my inner people-pleaser, that old desiccated pelican, croaked, "Be accommodating, babe," and my hand, traitor, took one for team diplomacy. What I touched was not a theoretical, not a vibe, not an invitation. It was a surprise that should have been put in the bin hours earlier. Something met me that had plans. I made a noise I didn't know I could make, half kookaburra, half dial-up internet. The candle did not, in fact, mask the new guest in the room. It arrived like a third character with lines. Everything went white around the edges. He, bless his oblivious heart, was lost in the sauce, eyes shut like he'd just heard the footy went into Golden Point. I snapped out of it, launched him off like a spring-loaded trap, and sprint walked to the end soot like I was about to sit an exam. From here the tone changes, because it has to. Clinical mode, tap on hot water soap. Antibacterial pump, 3 full depressions. Nail brush, scrub under each thumb, index, middle, ring, pinky, front and back, wrists included. Count to 90 out loud because panic needs numbers. Rinse. Repeat. Paper towel, not cloth, because fibers hold history. Bin. Tap off with elbow. Hand sanitizer, 2 pumps, rub until evaporated. Look at hands like they're crime scenes. Repeat. Repeat again. Sniff. Cry laugh. Whisper to God and Dettel in equal measure. From the doorway. Babe? You're right. He sounded affronted, which almost made me laugh for real. Bit much, I managed, voice 3 octaves higher than its usual postcode. He appeared at the threshold in all his birthday sincerity, confused and somehow still keen. What's wrong? He asked. My eyes pointed at the entire situation like Vanna White. I'm gonna bounce, I said, already hunting for my dress. It had fled under the bed in protest. I shimmied it on, grabbed my bag, slid my feet into sandals with the kind of athleticism that would have made my PE teacher weep. You're being dramatic, he said, which is the kind of sentence you say to someone who has not just gone through that. We can shower in. Nope, I said, cheerful in the way flight attendants are cheerful during turbulence. I'm good. He followed me to the door, still trying to coax the night back onto its rails. You can't just leave. Watch me, champion. The lift took a year. I could hear my pulse in my ears, and his sigh through the door. In the mirrored cab I caught sight of myself, hair wild, eyeliner somehow intact, eyes like someone who'd seen the abyss and found it poorly house-trained. The lift beeped at ground like a microwave. I walked out into the night air, and did a little star jump just to shake off any leftover ghosts. On Brunswick, I didn't even try to call a rideshare. I wanted the walk. The city at midnight is a different pet, quieter, smellier, honest. A couple was arguing about hot chips outside the kebab shop like it was philosophy. A bloke on a lime scooter zoomed past like a drunk dragonfly. I cut through a park where the bats chuckled, and I chuckled back like we were in on something together. Wanjiku, shirku for everyone who can't say the New Jersey right. Kenyan grad student in LA, missing Nairobi's late-night matura and the way people say sawa and mean it. A guy from a club asks for my number, sweet, a little shy, and texts a plan that sounds tidy. Meet at Blaze Pizza, chill together, get ice cream after. 8 p.m. I show up brushed up, braids pinned, thinking dinner first, vibe after. He waves and immediately suggests a walk. Fine. A pre-dinner loop isn't a crime. We start circling the block, past the same mural of wings every TikToker poses in, past a busker with a guitar and a tip jar shaped like an oversized solo cup. My guy flicks a coin between his fingers like he's flirting with generosity, then pockets it when the busker looks away. I clock it, pretend I didn't. He calls the barista in the window bro, without looking at his name tag, and when we hit a crowded crosswalk he steps off the curb first, assuming I'll follow because of course I will. He asks the questions that feel like check boxes. So, what do you study? Public health, I say. Nice. I'm like between things right now. Building a brand. What kind of brand? You know, lifestyle. We loop back to Blaze Pizza like a mirage. The neon is humming. I'm humming too, my stomach, not my heart. I point at the door with a grin. We eating or what? I'm playful, a little flirty. I am, in fact, ready to demolish a whole pie and then argue about sauces. What? He says, as if I've proposed we rob the place. You hungry? I blink. We said pizza. He shrugs. If you're hungry, I'm not getting Blaze. I'll make you chicken tenders from my freezer. It takes me a second to calibrate. I laugh because my brain needs a soft landing. My bad for assuming dinner at a pizza place. Yeah, he says. That's your bad. The air shifts. I can taste the cheapness dressed as spontaneity, the way he's framed bait and switch as something I'm supposed to be cool about. Now that I'm looking, the little tells multiply. He keeps scanning my face like he's testing a boundary, like an amateur poking an electric fence. He uses the word vibes as a blanket that should cover any cold spot he creates. It's not that deep, he says, and the phrase lands like a dare. I hear my mother from 9,000 miles away. Mrembo, Yuzi and Kwa Nyamba boy child. Don't go to a boy's house on a first date. My auntie chimes in, giggling and merciless, Aki this boy. And my own voice right here, right now. Hapana, thanks. Not going to your place. He tilts his head. Wow, transactional much? I smile the way Nairobi girls smile when a Matata driver tries to shortchange us. Sweet as mango, blade underneath. We can still walk if you want. I've already started moving toward the door. Nah, I'm good, he says like he's the one opting out. Inside, the pizza smell is a warm blanket. I order a simple pie, pepperoni, onions, extra sauce, and a cup of water. While I wait, I text my roommate. Update, Blaze Pizza turned out to be metaphorical. Man offered freezer tendies instead. She responds with 3 skulls, a spoon, and sawa basi, eat for 2. He lingers outside for a minute, watching me through the glass like a kid denied dessert. Then he disappears, swallowed by Melrose traffic. My pie comes up. I take the first bite too fast and still close my eyes because tomato and heat and the salt of it all feels like being on my own side. Sauce fogs my glasses for a second and I laugh, tiny, private, victorious. The girl at the register glances over. She'd clocked our outside exchange. She gives me a little nod, one of those micro-solidarity things women pass like contraband. You good? Yeah, I say. I'm good. I tip heavy. She slides an extra ranch across the counter with a conspiratorial wink. I eat slow on purpose. The couple next to me is in that early golden light phase, all knee bumps and soft questions. I don't hate them for it. I just don't want what I had outside pretending to be that. I watch a dad slice a kid's pizza with plastic cutlery like he's performing surgery. I think about how much of dating is theater, set, props, blocking, and how disrespect is often just a missed rehearsal on purpose. Halfway through my slice, my phone buzzes. Him. Didn't realize you were so high maintenance, lol. I let the message sit there like a fly. Then I put my phone face down and keep eating. The second buzz arrives, then a third. I flip the phone, block, finish my food, and feel something unclench at the base of my skull. Outside again, the night has cooled. A teenager is taking photos at the wing mural, angling her friend so the streetlight makes a halo. I walk past the bar where he called the bartender bro, past the busker who's now playing a soft, mournful cover of Creep. I drop a bill in the solo cup without ceremony. The busker's eyebrows jump. He nods like we've shared a joke I didn't have to tell. There's a soft serve place open a block away, and because I buy myself a swirl, vanilla and chocolate, sprinkles like confetti. For the after, I say to no one, to myself, to Shirku who keeps her own promises. I wander a little, licking the drip, thinking in 2 languages. Sawa, I tell myself. Yuko Sawa. You're okay. You did not go to anyone's freezer. You fed yourself. Boundaries don't need press releases, they need practice. Hinge guy picks myth on King West. Table of girls beside us. He keeps chirping over there every time I hit the washroom. One woman leans in. You're so hot, don't worry. Sorry, what? He returns like a hero, says they're pumping my tires. I tell him it's weird, first date, eh? He sulks, pokes the bill, mutters I forgot to thank him for dinner. In the car he starts a scrap, calls me insecure, tries to spin the night like I should be grateful for his gravity. I ask to get out at Queen's Quay, hands shaking. 17 minutes alone outside the Loblaws, under the gardener, feels like 17 hours. The Uber driver arrives, hears me sniffle, puts on soft radio, says, "You're okay." Walks me to my door. Text pings from the guy. "You are dramatic." Toronto hums outside, streetcars, lake wind, a city full of first dates. I block him, then put my phone face down, and let the air conditioner drown the leftover noise. So back to the pre-game, me in my apartment, debating shoes like they will decide my fate. Block heels safe, stilettos optimistic, white sneakers practical. I picked the heels because hope is a habit. He texts that he's already at the restaurant, grabbed us a vibey table. And for a second I believe in a version of the night where we drink crisp white and the conversation hops like stones. Myth is noisy pretty, white plaster curves, blue neon that makes every glass look like a swimming pool. Our server introduces herself like she's starting a story. He stands to hug me, smells like cologne and wintergreen gum, and immediately asks a passing staffer for a different table because this one's not Instagram. The staffer is Grace in human form and moves us without letting me feel like luggage. I should have clocked it then, the way he stage manages. We order small plates, tzatziki, grilled octopus, a pile of potatoes that could solve a war. He calls the octopus content, angles the plate to his phone, says, "Hold on," like it's charming. When he puts the phone away, he's fine. Not thrilling, not awful. Work talk, travel talk, siblings. He mentions he lives at the gym, the way some people say, "I live at Queen and Ossington." It's a place and a personality. I nod. I make a joke about how my gym membership is a donation. He laughs politely and glances over my shoulder. The table of girls arrives in a gust of perfume and laughter. They are glittering and loud in the way I love. Toronto girls dressed like they know where the light lands. He starts clocking them like radar. I excuse myself to the washroom, and when I come back he's mid-chat with their table. It's a harmless moment, smiles, drinks, the usual, but the way he swivels toward me like he's returning from a commercial break stings a little. "They love my jacket," he says before I even sit. "Pumping my tires." He says it like a catchphrase that owes him rent. I let it pass. If we all got arrested for harmless flirting, the city would be empty by Friday. Conversation restarts, stutters, crawls. He asks 0 follow-ups, just plants his own anecdotes like flags. When he does ask a question, "So what are you looking for?" It's an audit, not curiosity. I say something honest and small. Kindness. He says, "That's baseline." Then spends 5 minutes explaining why other women he's dated weren't grateful. Second washroom trip. There's a line in a good mirror and a girl with galaxy eyeliner who tells me, "You look so cute, babe." I tell her truth-adjacent things. By the time I get back, he is in a full lean on the girl's table, the human version of a comment thread. One of them, drunk brave, touches my elbow as I pass and murmurs, "You're so hot, don't worry." I smile because I am Canadian and wired for politeness, but my stomach does that elevator drop. Back at my seat, I say gently, "Hey, can you not?" He blinks like I've turned off a TV. "They're just pumping my tires. Relax." He chews the phrase. He likes the sound of it in his mouth. The bill arrives in a leather sleeve like a verdict. He goes very quiet, studies the total as if numbers can apologize. I reach for my purse. He places a hand on top of it, all chivalry. I got this. Then, without looking up, you didn't even thank me, you know. The way he delivers it, flat, accusatory, turns a courtesy into a cudgel. Thank you, I say. He shrugs like I turned in a late assignment. Outside, King West is awash of headlights and Saturday perfume. He says he'll drive me home. It's a 15-minute detour, and I mistakenly think the quiet of a car will help. In the passenger seat, I can smell the little tree air freshener fighting for its life. He starts again, the speech he rehearsed somewhere between the octopus and the bill. How women want a guy girls want, how I couldn't handle attention, how the table of girls proved he's still got it. I look out at the streetcar gliding by and imagine myself on it, anonymous and saved by Presto. Can you let me out here? I say when we hit Queen's Quay. He laughs like I'm doing a bit. It's funny how mad you got. I repeat myself, voice smaller than I intended. He pulls over with a sigh like the brakes owe him money. The gardener's belly is an ugly, comforting thing. The wind off the lake knifes up the boulevard. I wrap my coat tighter and count the minutes on my phone like beads. He idles for a second, like he might say sorry. He doesn't. He peels off. 17 minutes is a lifetime when you're rerunning every moment for signs. Did I overreact? Did he? Did we both? A couple walks past holding gelato. A cyclist missions through red lights like a rumor. The Loblaw's neon buzzes in its own ecosystem. I breathe with the traffic. Uber arrives. A Camry with tissues in the console, and a driver who knows not to talk until you want him to. He catches the shape of my face in the mirror and turns the radio to something soft, like a sweater. You're okay, he says in that gentle, dad-on-a-field trip tone, and somehow that's the sentence that undoes me. I'm not crying, I'm more leaking. Long night, I say. He nods like he's seen the whole movie. He walks me to my door because sometimes humanity is simply that. On the mat he says, you don't owe anybody a second chance to be unkind. Then he tips an invisible hat and goes. I stand in my hallway and let those words fall into me like vitamins. Upstairs, my apartment hugs me back. I wash my face until my cheeks are clean and my brain is slightly quieter. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb and then, against my better instincts, I flip it. There's his text, you are dramatic. Then another, girls were pumping my tires 'cause I'm that guy. And then, because the universe likes a flourish, a tire emoji. I block him, the way you swat a mosquito that already bit you. I met Sam in a smoky old town bar. He ordered for me in Czech, fed me courses like a countdown, pate, dumplings, custard. Eat, Natalie, smiling too wide. Last night in Prague, he begged me to come home. I lied, sister needs me. Back in Chicago, a rash blooms across my shoulder blades. Derm's office calls me on campus, voice tight. Come now. There's an agent there, FBI. The biopsy shows a compound used by cannibals. Who have you seen in 6 months? We say his name. Prague police raid Sam's flat. They find a freezer, a ledger, jewelry in jars, bones cataloged by height and hair color. Multiple missing women. My stomach flips remembering his insistence that I finish dessert. Force-feeding as fattening, as ritual. He dabbed the cream on me at some point. Hug? Coat? Testing? Tagging? I picture his hand steady, clinical. The FBI agent's pen hovers. He intended to kill you. My skin crawls, phantom hands at my back. I uninstall every travel photo. But Prague remains, astronomical clock ticking like a metronome. Pause. Rewind to the bar. It's the kind with vaulted brick and low lamps. The air feathered with smoke from tourists who forgot Europe lets them. He appears with that already somewhere smile, like a joke no one else heard. I will order, he says, not asks, and there's something soothing at first about someone fluent in the rules. Becherovka arrives in small thick glasses. He pushes mine by increments, just enough to suggest without insisting. When the plate lands, he cuts a corner of pate and lifts it to my mouth like we're rehearsing for a photo. Eat, Natalie. He says my name in careful syllables, like a word he won in a raffle. His English is too formal. I would prefer if you take this. You should allow me. The phrases come pre-ironed. I tell myself it's charming. I tell myself a lot of things when I want a city to love me back. We meet again the next night, then again, our ritual stitched across cafes that smell of coffee and wet stone. He takes me to a restaurant with red damask walls and a trio playing something cheerful enough to hide a different mood. Courses multiply, a parade of heaviness. It is better in winter, he says. It is May. He watches me the way waiters watch tables, attentive, proprietary. When I slow, he looks almost disappointed. "You must try dessert," he says, and the word must is a gentle shove. By our last evening, his insistence has a heartbeat. "Come to my place," he says, then says it again as if repetition is a key. He leans across the table and tucks a stray hair behind my ear, and his fingers graze the back of my neck. There's a smell I can't place, faintly sweet, not perfume, not soap. "You leave tomorrow," he says. "You will regret not coming." I blame the plane, the early alarm, my sister waiting. His smile doesn't crack so much as hold. "Another time," he says, but his eyes don't come along. At the taxi, he hugs me. The hug is brief but deliberate, the palm flattening between my shoulder blades like pressing a stamp. I tell myself it's continental, the way goodbyes are done here. I tell myself I am not prey to a story I read online once, the kind of story you call urban legend, because the alternative is admitting the world sometimes rehearses the worst play imaginable. Back in Chicago, the world goes gray and loud. Campus is finals, coffee, fluorescent lighting. The rash doesn't itch at first. It blooms like a map, two pale continents along the ridge of my shoulders. It warms. Then it burns. The campus clinic shrugs. The dermatologist does not. Her assistant snaps photos like crime scene documentation. "We'll call," she says, but the tone makes it sound less like a promise and more like a siren you can't hear yet. The call comes while I'm lugging laundry in the basement, surrounded by lint like snow that learned to give up. "Come now," the doctor says, and I laugh because it sounds ridiculous. "Come now?" But then she lowers her voice. "The police are here." The agent is young enough to be my TA, old enough to know how to say my name without looking at a file. She asks where I've traveled. I say Prague like it's a confession. The doctor says the compound in the cream, how clinical cream, has been reported in cases overseas. She does not use the word cannibalism at first. The agent does. It lands in the room like a metal chair hitting tile. "Walk me through," the agent says. So I do, the bar, the dinners, the insistence, the hug. "Any chance he could have touched your back?" she asks, and I remember his hand, the heel of it, the press. I remember the smell. I rub my arms like it will shake something loose. They ask for his name. I have it in my phone, Sam, but with an accent on the he added himself. The agent writes both versions. I hand over screenshots of our texts. "You will come. We will finish what we start." At the time it sounded like a flirt. Now it reads like a proclamation. The next part happens away from me. Prague police coordinate with whoever coordinates those things. Hours stretch and the city inside my head keeps time with the astronomical clock. Tap, tap, tap like footsteps in a stairwell. My sister arrives at the clinic and tucks me into her sweater like a bird. The agent returns with phrases that make my stomach feel like an elevator. "We raided," she says softly, as if the verb might bruise me. "We found," she stops. Tries again. "Evidence. A lot of it." Words like freezer and ledger and jars lose their everyday meanings. The world tilts and then clicks back into its track. There's a moment where I step out of myself. I see two women, one on a cobbled street under fairy lights, letting a stranger order custard, another in a too-bright clinic, skin burning where someone decided it was a surface for a plan. It is the same woman. I hate her a little, then pull the hate back and fold it into something useful. Next time, I tell her. Next time we leave sooner. Next time we do not mistake politeness for safety. After, the FBI interviews come in batches. My phone becomes an artifact. I scroll and notice things I didn't. The way he overused you will, the way his questions were about logistics, when where, not one about me beyond food. I go through my photos and find one outside the bar, my face pink from beer and a mirror behind me catching a shadow that could be anyone, which is how shadows work. I delete it anyway. I delete most things. I keep one photo of the Vltava in gray light, because the river didn't do this. Sleep turns into a corridor with doors you don't want to open. In one, I went to his flat. In another, I stayed for dessert and dessert became a ritual with teeth. I wake sweating, palms pressed to my spine like I can wipe something away. In the morning I scrub the shower wall without knowing why. People want to help in the way people do when the story is too big for their hands. "At least you didn't go," they say, and I nod because that sentence is a raft. My sister brings me soup and sits without saying much, which is better. The dermatologist calls twice more to check the rash, which peels away like old wallpaper, leaving skin that remembers. Chael, man rolled up to a high-end lounge in shorts, plain tee slippers. 15 years in Dubai, he said, but moving like fresh off the plane. From hello he's touching my arm, nah. Then photos of 3 kids. Orders beer for himself, tells me, we only doing drinks, swats away the food menu the waitress suggests. I order a mocktail, conversation dies like a generator low on fuel. He tries again with wandering hands. I say no, first date is boundaries. He answers a call, starts giving directions, his friend is coming to join us. I ask, are you expecting someone? He says, yeah, you'll love him. That's my cue. The city glows outside, glass and steel and desert heat. Inside it's cold with entitlement. I stand, pay my part, and leave him with his second beer and his slippers. My heels click like punctuation on the marble, full stop. Rewind to the lobby, where the scent is oud and money. I'm early because this city runs on valet tickets and buffer time. A hostess in black smiles with her eyes and asks if I'm meeting Mr. K. Yes. She points me to a corner table under a ceiling that looks like a beehive made of champagne flutes. The AC is aggressive. Dubai loves to refrigerate its luxury, so I rub my arms and practice small talk in my head. This is me being open, I remind myself. We met on an app, he was witty in voice notes, used please and thank you, didn't hey sexy me. A start. Then he arrives, flappy slippers slapping marble, calves hairy, shorts wrinkled like they just lost an argument with a laundry basket. My smile hiccups. I'm not the dress code police, but the cognitive dissonance slaps harder than the footwear. Ah, ma, he sings, stretching my name like toffee. He leans in for a hug, I give him shoulder. He smells clean in the way hotel soap smells clean. Aggressive, top note only. We sit. He flags down the waitress with 2 fingers and a whistle that makes my spine fold itself. 2 beers, he says. I lift my hand. Actually, can I have a virgin mojito? He blinks like I just spoke Dutch. You don't drink? Not tonight. He shrugs, then points at the menu the waitress is sweetly placing in front of me. We're just doing drinks, he tells her, not me. We're getting to know each other. She Filipina, hair in a neat bun, eyes kind, tilts the menu toward me anyway. We also have small bites, she says, conspiratorial. Truffle fries, hummus, sliders. He takes the menu, closes it, and slides it away like it offended him. No thanks. Drinks. He smiles at me like he's solved something. I smile back like I didn't see the working. We do biodata exchange. Where are you from? How long in Dubai? What brings you here? Ghana, I say. Marketing. I like the quiet in the mornings before the sun gets ideas. He laughs at the last part, then loads his phone with photos. 3 children in matching Christmas pajamas, a birthday cake with a sparkler, a boomerang of a water park. They're so cute, I say, and they are. You live with them? Oh no, he says quickly like I'd accused him. Different mother. But they love me die. The phrasing makes me swallow air. I nod and ask about co-parenting, school runs. He answers with brands, what he buys them, not what he does for them. When my mocktail arrives, he raises his beer to clink mine, but the glass sweats in my hand and slides. A lime wedge leaps to its death on the table. He chuckles, you're nervous, eh? No, I say, steadying the glass with both hands. Just cold. I consider ordering fries, but my appetite has moved to Jumeirah for the evening. He leans over the table, drops his voice like a DJ. So you're very beautiful, you know. Compliments are not crimes, but the way his eyes don't go with his mouth makes me want to put on a turtleneck. His hand comes to my forearm automatically, a punctuation mark to his sentence. Please keep your hands to yourself. I say, soft for me but firm in general. First date, let's be gentle. He looks wounded, performatively. You're not affectionate? Not for strangers. There's a fleeting moment where he could pivot, make a joke, reset. He doesn't. He leans back, sips, and evaluates me the way some men believe is their right. How old are you again? I give him the age I already gave in the app. He squints like the number owes him money. You want kids? I give him the philosophy I give everyone. If then, maybe later. He says, and I watch him fit me in a rubric. The waitress, bless her, reappears with the menu like a shield. Any snacks? The music gets loud later. My stomach taps its watch. I could do hummus, I say, smiling at her, not him. He reaches across, slides the menu shut, and flicks it to the empty chair. No food, he says, then to me, we said drinks. Focus. He laughs. I don't. I think about how we didn't say anything, he did. His phone rings. He answers immediately. Where you day? He says, English-Ghanaian mashup, suddenly lively. He gives landmarks, names the lounge, then says into the receiver, yeah, pull up. We're here. He hangs up and turns to me with the grin of a man who's just invited surprise karaoke to a funeral. My boy is coming. You'll like him, he's fun. I came to meet you, I say. First date, remember? He waves a hand. We can be 3 small. It's vibes. He scrolls his phone like the conversation has been filed away. I put my glass down. The ice clinks like a warning bell. You didn't ask if that's okay. He looks up, blankly offended. Babe, relax. You'll love him. Don't call me babe. He laughs again, the sound empty as a showroom. Yeah, you're stricto. Me, I like free flow. I check my watch, which is a way of checking my soul. The math is simple. He's not listening. He's making decisions that include my evening and exclude my consent. There's a version of me that would try to salvage it out of politeness, order the hummus as revolution, sit through the friend's arrival like a hostage at a variety show. Tonight, that version can't find parking. I'm going to head out, I say, pushing my chair back. His eyebrows hike like tourists on a dune. Ah, we just started. I came from far. Same, I say and lift my bag. Thanks for the drink. He grabs the bill, finally interested in paper when it leaves. You're not serious, he mutters, half to me, half to the table. The waitress appears so softly you could mistake her for Mercy. I catch her eye, tilt my head toward the card machine. Can you please split? She nods, prints, slides, the choreography of 1,000 rescues. I pay my part. His mouth opens and closes like a goldfish in a crystal bowl. At the host's stand he trots behind me, tugging my sleeve lightly like a child in a supermarket. Don't be like this. My boy is almost here. All the best to your boy, I say. He tries one more angle. You know Dubai is small. People will say you're proud. I smile a slow, shiny thing. Let them say. The hostess gives me a look that is woman-to-woman fluency. Are you safe? I smile back. I am now. The lobby doors sigh open to Sheikh Zayed's white noise. Heat hits my face like truth. Outside, a line of supercars purrs in primary colors. A delivery bike darts past like a comma. I text the group chat one word, slippers, and 5 skull emojis arrive like applause. I call a Kareem. Met him off Tinder. He texted, pop round, yeah? Flats in a tired terrace, bedroom smells of damp, and Lynx Africa. I clock him propped up on pillows, shirtless, grinning, next to a literal dog turd. Oops, he says, flicks it with a tissue, then casually rolls it onto the carpet like he's teeing up at Putney Heath. Pats the duvet. Come sit, babe. My brain goes white noise. I perch on the edge, fight or flight muzzled by politeness and sheer disbelief, while he chats about his gym routine, like we haven't just seen a canine crime scene. The dog circles, tail thwacking the skirting board. He reaches for my knee. Pause. Rewind to the front door. He buzzed me in and yelled, top floor, like we were mates and I was bringing him Rizla. Stairs smelled of curry, bleach, and something older. A pram skeleton on the landing. Front door wedged with a trainer. Dog hair in the air like dandelion fluff. I should have clocked it from the hallway. The half-peeled gray paint, the drooping coat hooks, 3 caps on a radiator that's never seen a damp cloth. He kissed the air near my cheek, missed, and said, fam in the flesh. Not to me, to his phone, which was filming on the shelf. Say hi, he told the camera. I pretended I hadn't heard, the way you pretend you haven't noticed a spider. He'd texted earlier, weirdly familiar for a first meet. Missed you. Missed who? My name spelt wrong twice, and then right, like he was working through a list. I filed it under banter and kept walking. Idiot. Back to the bed. He pats the duvet again. I sit. One cheek only. The dog, staffy cross maybe sweet eyes, sniffs my ankle and sighs like he's apologizing for the entire species. The turd sits on the carpet like punctuation, dark and wet and absolutely undeniable. He toes it, like if he just smears it, it will vanish. He's talking about his split routine. Chest day. Back day. Sometimes legs if I see BA, he says. He laughs at his own joke. I do a quiet ha because my mouth forgot how to behave. My brain is running 2 scripts. Script A, be polite. People have accidents. Dogs do business. This is mad, but maybe it's just a blip. Script B, run. He notices me looking at the floor. Don't judge. He gets nervous, he says, and ruffles the dog with a hand that goes straight back to patting the duvet. I think of the world on his fingers. I tuck my hands beneath my thighs. Drink, he says, gesturing at a glass with a cloudy line round the middle. There's a strand of hair stuck to it like a hyphen. Tap's fine. I stand. Lou, I lie. The bathroom is 3 tiles by 4, and all of them are losing. Framed print, keep calm, and the rest has fogged off. I wash my hands like a surgeon. I stare in the mirror. Mascara, crisp. Lip, impeccable. Judgment, rotten. I type chips to my best mate, the safe word from a lifetime of bad ideas. She replies with a skull and a taxi emoji. Bless her. Back out. He's kneeling by the stain with a reusable cloth that says home sweet home. He is grinding it in. It's turned from a dot to an oil painting. We vibin' or what? He says. I smile. My cheeks feel stapled on. Let's, go to a pub. He squints like I've suggested a maths problem. Why leave? It's cozy. He pats the other half of the bed. There's a depression in the mattress, like a body outline that never bounced back. The duvet smells like he's been trying to dry it with his breath. He edges closer. Hand finds my knee anyway. Warm. Too familiar. I cross my legs. He interprets that as please continue. He leans in. Somewhere in my brain, an old PE teacher yells, "No means no," but my mouth is stuck on buffering. I grab my bag. Smoke. I don't smoke. He nods like a benevolent landlord granting a holiday. The corridor is a reprieve. The dog watches me from the doorway with eyes like a child's. I wish him a better life. I tell myself I'll call some rescue tomorrow. I won't. I know myself. On the stairwell, my phone rings. My mate. Uber's 2 roads down. I'm on Find My. Move. I go back into the room because my coat is on the chair, and my brain, still sticky with niceness, thinks I have to say bye. He's on his phone again, whispering into it. Yeah, she's lung, man. He sees me, pockets the phone. Quick cuddle before you go. Rain check, I say. I pop my arms into the coat. The sleeve drags across the carpet where the stain has broad-shouldered itself into a smear. I pretend I don't notice the damp kiss on the cuff. He walks me to the door, suddenly hostly. We'll bang it next time. It takes me a second to realize he means hang, and he's pointing at a clock still in its cardboard wrap. I laugh like an unpaid extra and skitter downstairs. Outside, London feels like it's breathing again. Sirens somewhere, a fox somewhere else. The Uber's headlights are the kind of mercy that makes you religious.